Pokemon, the anime series that stars a 10-year-old kid with over 22 years of experience. There's been a lot of Pokemon seasons, Indigo League, Diamond and Pearl, XY, but my favourite out of all of these would be the one where Ash gets an education, Pokemon Sun and Moon. If I could explain Pokemon Sun and Moon in the simplest way possible, it would be bonding, battling, laughing, getting crazy, you and me. Yeah, that kinda sums it up. I believe Ash Ketchum's adventure in the Alola region is his greatest yet, and this video is going to be me telling you the reasons why. So now that Sun and Moon is officially finished, take a seat, and let's take a look back and see just what made the Pokemon Sun and Moon anime so great. So before I get started on talking about Sun and Moon, I feel it's important to mention how I watched the show, and the build up towards it. The first Pokemon thing I ever watched was the Pokemon I Choose You movie released in 2017. This was the first anime film in general I ever watched, and I loved it. I loved the characters, the art style, the animation. Everything totally impressed me beyond any of my expectations. I now needed more Pokemon in my life. So I scroll through Netflix and see that there are 3 Pokemon shows, Indigo League, XY, and Sun and Moon. So I decided to watch Indigo League, and I loved it as well, especially Team Rocket and their incredible music career.
You know us as Team Rocket when we fight for what is wrong. We're tired of our motto, so we thought we'd try a song.
Hey, that rhymes!
But Indigo League didn't really have an ending, so I never finished watching Ash's journey to be the best. I then watched Pokemon XY, and I loved that show too. However, halfway through watching it, Netflix did the unthinkable, and removed it.
What?
None of this is good, Vector.
So I never finished it. Tears were shed on that day. So I then decided to watch the final Pokemon series on Netflix at the time, Pokemon Sun and Moon, the English dub.
Boo!
I was skeptical because of the negative things I had heard, but after I finished watching Season 1 and Ultra Adventures, I had finished everything that was available on Netflix and I loved it just as much as XY, and so I waited. Eventually I would be able to watch Ultra Legends, and I did, on Pokemon TV, 1 episode a week. Every show I watch on streaming services, so I tend to finish most shows relatively quick, but Sun and Moon only had 1 episode a week. This made Sun and Moon the longest time I'd ever watched a single show, meaning I ended up spending more time in the Alola region than any other show. This greatly helped to build a strong connection between the world, the characters, and everything else to do with the show, something no other show had done for me to this extent. This gave me so much more time to think about and reflect on the events of each individual episode, helping me to realise the little details and efforts of the show, something that is kinda taken away when binging a show in my opinion. When you binge a show, it doesn't give you any time to reflect, making you forget smaller details when looking at it as one whole package. But like I said, the way I watched Sun and Moon helped me do that, allowing myself to realise how great this anime really is. So yeah, I have a great emotional connection to the world of the Alola region, so light biased thoughts might appear. Now that that's out of the way, let's actually talk about what makes Pokemon Sun and Moon so great, starting with the story. Here's the thing, Pokemon Sun and Moon doesn't really do season-long singular story arcs. Instead it goes for smaller arcs and long stretches of character development that progress throughout the show. They have underlying mysteries and questions that are occasionally brought up throughout each season. Now this isn't a bad thing by any means. I really like how the mystery of Tapu Koko is started in the first episode, with how Tapu Koko gives Ash the Z-Ring, and how the mystery concludes after 3 seasons at the end of the Pokemon League. Stuff like that I think is really cool. So I'm going to talk about my favourite examples of stories within the show. Let's start simple. The Island Trials.
Battle begin! Lycanroc is unable to battle!
One thing this show does really well is hyping up the viewer for each of Ash's Island Trials. Whenever Ash does attempt the Island Trials, it's always part of a mini story arc. This allows us to get to know the Island Kahunas much better, as well as foreshadowing future events that'll take place during the battles. I also love how each trial isn't just a simple beat the Kahuna and we're done kind of thing. During the battle of Nanu, Ash actually loses the fight, and it makes Ash think to himself if he's really a good Pokemon trainer or not. So he has to train specifically for the rematch, which I love. Even Lycanroc has a character arc, with him learning how to control his anger. It all just works so well. The ending with the Alolan Pokemon League and the final few episodes also managed to cleanly and satisfyingly tie up almost every loose end from the series. And the one storyline that isn't resolved is with Lily and Gladion finding their dad. Now this bit isn't really about Sun and Moon, but this storyline is continued in the Alola episode of Pokemon Journeys. Has this thing ever happened before in Pokemon? It's cool. And how cool was it to see Misty and Brock return for a few episodes? That was just awesome. And remember how Brock actually got a girlfriend?
Crush on you!
They even foreshadowed it at the end of this next arc I want to talk about, over a season before it happened. Now that is good writing, I think. Now for my favourite story arc. I don't know if there's an actual name for this arc, but it's the Nebby arc, the first 12 episodes of Ultra Adventures. This is the kind of thing I wish Pokemon would do more often, taking the world of Pokemon and expanding upon it further, giving characters proper story arcs and non-Team Rocket villains. There are so many moments in this arc that just make the story so memorable, like how we get to see why Lily can't touch Pokemon because of her traumatic past, and the way it's portrayed is so good. Even though Lusamine is blinder to how Lily feels than Toph to a belt, they still have a great dynamic. I love how when Lily sees her mother get taken by the Ultra Beast, you can see the horror and fear on her face. I love how Ash straight up tackles Father to the ground. I love how for once, when the stakes get serious after Lusamine gets taken, Gladion initially refuses to let Ash help, stating that it's a family matter first, and Ash is just confused, like this never happens to him. I love how when they finally go to Ultra Space, Lily stands up to her mother, and you can see how she has grown throughout her arc. I love how Kukui gets married to Brunette, and the way he proposes to her. I would go into it more in depth, as I do really like this arc, but I don't want this to be another 30-minute video. Unlike previous Pokemon Sun and Moon episodes, this arc isn't afraid to get serious. This applies to Sun and Moon as a whole. It manages to balance both light-hearted plots and serious arcs perfectly. But I think the main reason why I love this arc is because of Lily and Gladion, especially Lily. I mentioned it before, but Lily really grows as a character throughout this arc, and it's so satisfying to watch her journey. You know what? All the characters are great. This is a segue, by the way.
Electro, Diglett, Nidoran, Mankey, Venusaur, Rattata, Fearow, Donkey!
The characters in this anime are one of its greatest strengths. I love almost everything about the Alola gang. Kiawe, Rowlet, Lana, Mallow, Sophocles, Rowlet, Kukui, Lily, Rowlet, Gladion. There's a reason why they brought the Alola gang back for Pokemon Journeys. Did I mention that the best character is of course Rowlet? Ash is still as great as ever. In Sun and Moon, I think they balanced the more fun and goofy side of Ash well, along with his more mature side. When the day is saved after saving Lusamine in Ultra Adventures, everyone is of course celebrating, but Ash is just standing there,
Menacingly!
leaning on the edge of the rail, staring into the sky, just thinking. He isn't overly emotional about losing Solgaleo, instead he simply wonders, thinking to himself, in a quiet, reflective moment for the character. These kinds of scenes happen to all the characters. This anime always gives each character time to themselves to reflect, and to build themselves as people in quiet, thought-provoking moments. It's really good. I mentioned them a bit before, but Lily and Gladion are the MVPs of this anime. Each of them both grow the most throughout the show, making them the most engaging to watch. Every character has multiple, how you say,
Layers!
to them. Mallow, for example, is usually seen as an always happy little chef, You never really see her mother in the show, so you wonder what happened to her. Luckily, she has a really great scene on Pony Island where she manages to see her mother again. Up until this point, there have been small moments that hint toward how Mallow secretly feels about her mother. When Mallow was young, she ended their relationship on a sour note. Subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter for more great jokes like this one. So when she sees her mother again, after years of regret, she starts crying for the first time in the show, showing the sadness she feels. This is just a really great scene. It's almost on par with the Serena cutting her hair scene from XY. That scene got me, man. This is just another one of the ways that this show builds upon its characters, making you really love them, and their relationships with each other. The fact these characters are so well characterized, it makes the final episode so much better. Seeing Ash say goodbye to Alola is so bittersweet, but the way all his friends show up in their Pokemon waving goodbye to Ash proves how attached I felt to these people. I would go more into the characters, like how every character learns from Ash, but like I said, I don't want another 30-minute video, so the characters in this show are great. But what brings those characters to life? Yep, it's... the animation. Let's talk about the animation and overall art style Sun and Moon has, specifically why it's great, and why it's mostly greater than XY's. There are already videos all about this topic which could most likely explain it better than me, but I still want to give my own thoughts and opinions on it. Okay, let me get this out of the way. The art style of Sun and Moon is amazing. Unlike previous Pokemon seasons, Sun and Moon goes for a slightly more simplistic and smoother art style, while still retaining the brilliantly drawn backgrounds and environments from previous seasons. Everything is bright and colourful, but the show knows when to make it darker. Even the lighting in certain scenes is the best it's ever been, with all the sunsets and everything. This simpler art style is also a major benefit towards the animation. Since the art style was simpler, it allows the animators to create even greater animations for all the characters. And it even allows the animators to experiment and play around with the art style and exaggerate the body proportions, which not only creates more visually interesting animation, but it also allows for greater comedic potential. There's 2 episodes that showcase the animation really well, Father's Revenge and one more. Here's a clue. What do Sonic X, BNA, and Pokemon Sun and Moon all have in common? A baseball episode, of course.
Could you maybe not throw the ball too hard? I've never played. Nice play!
BNA's baseball episode also highlights its incredible animation really well, similar to this episode. I should really make a video on BNA, that show is great. Anyway, Father's Revenge has this great scene with all the characters, where they perform the skipping challenge for Mario Odyssey, and the animation here is, so good. One of the simplest things, skipping, is made entertaining due to the expressive and fluid body animation used. You can watch the way Lily, Ash, and all the Pokemon jump and immediately get their entire personality, something good character animation should do, and something I love to see. Shows like Little Witch Academia thrive off of expressive body animations, and that's my favourite show of all time, so the expressive animation in Sun and Moon is greatly appreciated. Now look at this scene in XY when Ash is attempting to dance. It looks pretty choppy and awkward by comparison, doesn't it? I know that could be considered the point, but it still proves my point.
Lesson 1. Footwork.
Speaking of XY, here is the one advantage XY has over Sun and Moon with its animation, the 3D camera. In XY, it allows the action to have a lot more movement and allows for greater cinematography opportunities. It made the locations feel so much bigger. There are small segments where it looks like a 3D camera is being used in Sun and Moon, but nothing to the extent of XY. Now the baseball episode is also a great example of how the animation isn't afraid to be creative, increasing the thickness and art style of the character outlines to emphasize movement and weight. That was probably the smartest thing I've said on this entire YouTube channel. They also play with the scale and perspective of certain shots as well, which always looks awesome. It makes the anime so much more interesting to watch, as you're always wondering how far they can push the animation. Shows like Kill la Kill from Studio Trigger do the same thing, and I personally love Trigger's animation, so yeah, take notes from the best. I can't believe I just compared Pokemon to Kill la Kill.
Don't lose your way, your mind.
That is literally the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
You are correct!
And if you're still one of the people who don't like the animation and visuals, just watch this scene. This couldn't be done in previous Pokemon seasons. Everything from the colours, the movement, the scale, the lines, the atmosphere, it all comes together to make a visual masterpiece. Like, I would definitely just take a screenshot of any moment from this clip and put it on my wall. It's also similar to the Mario Strikers box art. It doesn't help my point, but I wanted to mention that anyway. Now that I proved that Sun and Moon has excellent animation and visuals, let's talk about the unsung hero of this anime that is made possible using those visuals.
This place is a paradise! We get to stay here for a whole week! Can you believe it?
What? A week?
The location of Pokemon Sun and Moon is one of my favourite aspects of this anime. The Alola region, in my opinion, is the most distinct and personality-filled location in the series. This is partially due to how the region is split up into 5 distinct islands: Melee Melee Island being the main one, Pony Island, Akala Island, Ula Ula Island, and Aether Paradise. This is great because not only does this allow the audience to grow attached to the location, but it also allows for different varied environments between locations. You can tell which island the characters are currently on, something I think previous Pokemon seasons don't do quite as well. It also adds more memorability to the different story arcs because of the different locations. This is something I think previous Pokemon seasons don't do quite as well. In previous Pokemon seasons, Ash and his friends are always moving to new and different locations. Now this does work to its own benefit, making no location feel stale, but I say that it also results in less locations being memorable. It doesn't allow for much exploration of the location, and it means you have less attachment to the location. This is actually really important. You know the Disney children's show Gravity Falls?
Sorry, but this was the only way the ESRB would let us continue.
The whole show is set in the small town of Gravity Falls, and the main characters all live in the Mystery Shack. As the show progresses, you learn more about the Mystery Shack and Gravity Falls, and all of its secrets. You get to know these locations so well that when Gideon takes the shack for himself and Mabel and Dipper are forced to leave, you really feel the sadness and pain they feel, almost as if you, the viewer, are forced into leaving as well. Pokemon Sun and Moon does this same thing. Remember in Ultra Legends when Ash and Pikachu end up in the other dimension? For most of the episode, you're wondering, what is this place? You want to know what happened and how it ended up like this. So when it's revealed to Ash and the audience that this is a destroyed Alola region, by looking at the destroyed and crumbling down Pokemon School, you feel the impact the characters feel because of how much time you spent at the Pokemon School in the show. This whole concept might be a rip-off of the game Jack 2, but who cares?
Is that? No, it couldn't be. That's not...
It's free real estate.
I also love the whole atmosphere of the Alola region. It allows for a unique setting that is easily expanded upon. I always feel like there's more to learn about this location when I'm watching, and I think that's just great. The Alola region is such an interesting place that stands on its own. It's my favourite main region in the whole Pokemon anime. So now let's poorly segue into my favourite section of these videos.
And I will rule the world! All hail Plankton! All hail
The place where I talk about stuff that wouldn't fit naturally into the review. This'll be quick. First off, the soundtrack. Even though I watched the English dub, I will say that the Japanese soundtrack is better. Nothing can beat Alola, Your Adventure, or Future Connection really, although I do like Under the Alolan Moon from the dub. The score's good as well. I really like the theme that plays towards the end of most episodes, not much to say really. Actually, speaking of music, I love how when Megina arrives in Sun and Moon, it plays the instrumental of Soul Heart from the Volcanion and the Mechanical Marvel movie, which Megina prominently appeared in. It's a cool little touch.
Puro tutto, sembra ete. Tutto armatato. Patanzone portare per fratello. Ah no, si ne interrompono con i tenodonete. E tutte le cottorate non sempre da chete. E azzomazzato ropo d'onore, rapato. Pocon, se sta cottorapata con no.
Can I just mention how great Kukui's proposal was? Everything from the sunset to the Pokeball ring box, and Kukui saying, "May I choose you?" That is exactly how someone from the Pokemon world would do it. It's so charming. Why did they make a Sailor Moon episode? You know what really bugs me? What was the point in giving Malloy a shaman? It pretty much has no significance to the plot at all. I'm convinced that they only gave her one because Serena was too big to carry. Think about it. Every girl carries their Pokemon. Lily has Snowy, Lana had Poplio but evolved into something too big so the writers gave her Sandy, and originally Mallow had Bounsweet. It's the only explanation really. And finally, anyone think it's weird how the Alola gang always speak in unison? It's weird, creepy, and it makes me feel like I'm in the middle of a summoning circle run by the cult from Hot Fuzz.
We're the Alola Idols!
The greater good.
You got it, Eevee! Oh, Roger, Lucidine!
The greater good.
Shut it!
I could probably talk more about Sun and Moon, like I've barely talked about Team Rocket, and they're amazing, but I've already written more words for this script than I wanted to, so let's finish this video.
India Golf 909 are transmitting in the blind guard. Disengage, repeat, disengage! Now! Abort, abort, abort! Save! Abort, abort, abort! Thanks.
So after watching this video, do you understand why Pokemon Sun and Moon is so good? Cool. Why am I pretending to talk to this random anime character? Well anyway, why did I decide to make this video? Well, you know that amazing Pokemon music video that was released recently? That video is a love letter to Pokemon fans because of how it shows the characters from across the entire franchise, and some of those characters were of course the Sun and Moon cast. Even though Gladion, Lily, Hau, and the game protagonists are only on screen for 4 seconds, I counted. It made me remember how much this show really meant to me. There have just been so many moments in this anime that have just stuck with me. When Ash left Alola, I honestly felt emotional because I felt like I knew these characters and this world so well. Pokemon Sun and Moon is different from other Pokemon seasons because of its animation, art style, characters, world, and atmosphere. It brings new life and originality to a series that has been going on for years, while still keeping it distinctly Pokemon. This is why I think this is the best Pokemon series, and after this video I hope you can see why, and if you don't think that it's the best, maybe you can at least see why I believe it's so great. At least I know that I will definitely be revisiting the world of Pokemon Sun and Moon for many years to come.